A massive shout out to the Jonin tier member Mr. Leroy 1998 and Genin tier Leah Rov. Your support means a lot. If you would like your name mentioned in every video, support the channel, as well as receive special perks and access exclusive series, consider becoming a member of this channel by hitting that join button. Hi guys, this is the next part of What If Naruto Had Light Release. I hope you enjoy. Because of our proximity, we'll just gobble him up. Tazuna nodded, as he had thought of that as well. That is also my thought, but either way, the people of Wave would be caught like grain between the millstone and the trough. Which is all the more of a reason to finish my bridge before it's too late. Why doesn't Gato just wait until it's finished, and then blow it up? Naruto asked. That might disillusion other people from trying that again. If it were a bridge within a nation, you'd be correct, Naruto-kun, Tsunade explained. However, there is a certain etiquette involving bridges connecting between nations. If Gato attacks the bridge after completion, then it will be seen as an attack on both nations, she continued. Fire would retaliate by sending more of us to back the upstart off and teach him a lesson. That's right, Tazuna stated somberly, but until it is complete the bridge is the sole responsibility of the nation that began the project, hence why Gato is getting desperate to prevent my bridge's completion. So much so, that he has begun to hire ninja to try and stop me from completing it, he stated, finally getting to the reason for his presence. I need help from the leaf to guard me and my family as I complete my bridge. Forgive me, Hokage-sama, but how is this a C rank mission? Hinata asked. If these truly are ninja, then shouldn't this be a B rank, even borderline a rank, depending upon the caliber of ninja we face? Little warmer than normal, water ninja tend to humidify the air, and lightning masters are more prone to static electricity. Tsunade and the other Jonin nodded their heads, the other genin listened with fascination, and the civilian looked interested. Well, wind masters like me, tend to alter the local air currents to draw in the winds they need to work with, so no matter where I stand, I'm always downwind. Why did you not tell us this before, Naruto? His aunt asked dangerously. Realizing he was in trouble no matter what he said, he decided to bite the Senbon, and just tell the truth. I did it to keep from embarrassing you, Naruto said, studiously ignoring Tazuna in the room. I apologize for blurting it out here in front of Tazuna, but I was so relieved to finally have another shinobi to talk to on my first mission that I blurted it out. Before further discussion could be had, Tsunade decided to get them back on track, getting to the other subject at hand. Blood Squad is to accompany Tazuna-san here, back to Nami, and guard him until he finishes his bridge. You are authorized to use any and all means to prevent his demise. She was looking directly at Naruto when she said that. He quirked an eyebrow, looking at Tsunade to make sure he understood what she was authorizing, when she emphasized, any means short of assassination of Gato. If he attacks directly, you may do what you must, but until then he is to be left alone. Is that understood? She asked. Understood, they all said. Good, Kurenai-sensei, Tsunade said, give them their marching orders. Hi, Hokage-sama, the crimson-eyed kunoichi acknowledged, before turning to her team, and began giving them orders. You will all go home, and pack everything you will need for an extended trip. Meet me at the village main gate in exactly 1 hour. They waited for her to finish her instructions, and give the execute order, go. They were a memory as soon as her mouth closed, they did not see her smile of pride in them. You will all become great ninja, I am just glad I could have been a part of your story. Naruto and Yugao wasted no time getting to the house. As they entered the house they headed to their respective rooms. They really did not have to do much preparation, because one of the village's standing orders for all ninjas was to be able to set out on a mission, at a moment's notice. That meant having what they needed for a mission ready at all times, ready to go immediately upon receipt of the mission. The hour Kurenai gave them was generous, it was mainly so they could settle any business they might have while they were away early, or schedule for a later date. Naruto picked up a large scroll in his room, into it he sealed clothes, rations, medical equipment. They may not be medic nin like Sakura-chan, but all of them knew how to do emergency medicine. The doorbell rang, Yugao called out that she would get it. He heard the door open and several feet file into the house. Naruto, of course, was wearing his 10-fist sword on his back, which he always did since becoming a genin. He was just stopping by the foyer to lay his scroll next to the door. Before making his way to the living room, he smiled when he reached it, because he found nearly everybody he cared about. Anko, Sakura-chan, Hayate, Hinata-chan, Kiba with Akamaru, Hana with the triplets, and Kurenai-chan, seated on the couches, or in various chairs within the room, they were all engrossed in their own talk. Sakura, Kurenai, and Hinata were chatting, and casting surreptitious glances in Naruto's direction. Kiba was laughing at something with Anko and Hana, while scratching the back of his head. To Naruto, he seemed to be flirting with Anko. Yugao and Hayate were just sitting in the love seat, lost in their own little world. The Inu Nin were laying on their sides in their own little pile. Akamaru and the Heimaru triplets were brothers, from the same sire. Naruto cleared his throat, and smiled, before asking, "Hi, guys, what are you doing here?" he asked with enthusiasm. Hana is the one to answer his question. "Your aunt invited us over, to take part in an Uzumaki clan tradition," she explained. "It's a tradition that usually only involves family, but she said we're family in every way that matters." Naruto understood his aunt's thoughts on that matter. "Well, she's right there," he agreed. "You may not be Uzumaki, but you've all become like family to us," he said, as he entered the room to stand next to his teammates. This prompted Yugao to stand up from Hayate's lap and begin bustling around the room. She went to the sideboard and took a tray of drinks and went around the room putting a shot glass into every hand. The shots were of sake. Okay, this is a tradition the Uzumaki would partake in when they became adults, and began to take their place in society. With Blood Squad about to undertake its first mission outside the village, this seemed to be the perfect opportunity to do this. "So, if you will all raise your glasses," they all did, "to Blood Squad on their first mission, may we represent our village with honor." Blood Squad, formidable while separate, unbeatable together, Naruto toasted. "Blood Squad, give them hell," Kiba decreed, "but come back safely, together." Here, Hana agreed to her brother's benediction. "To Blood Squad, may we all learn each experience, but never give up that which makes us strong, our uniqueness," Hayate declared. "To Blood Squad on our first mission, we will destroy our foes and look good doing it," Sakura quipped. "To Blood Squad on their first mission, Gato won't know what hit him," Anko declared. "To my team, no matter what happens, we will get through anything together," Kurenai decreed, "and one more standing order for you all, no dying. To Sakura-chan, Naruto-kun, and Kurenai-sensei, we will make the mountains tremble with our passage, and rivers slow as we cross them," Hinata exclaimed. "Our story will be epic," and they all drank their sake. Gone to Wave. The original Blood Squad were many hours outside the village hidden in the leaves. At the moment, the only ones present were Naruto, Sakura, Hinata, and Kurenai, not to mention Tazuna of Nami. The two Anbu were nowhere in sight. Naruto could not help the grin on his face. This was his first excursion out of Konoha in his whole life. Of course, he and Hinata knew they were being followed, and had been since the moment they set foot outside the village. Naruto and Hinata's balaclavas were totally on, and up, their visors were flipped down over their eyes, and their dojutsu were on in full. Hinata was on point, while Naruto brought up the rear. Kurenai and Sakura were on the right and left of Tazuna-san, respectively, while the two Anbu were nowhere to be seen. It may be worth noting that all three of Naruto's ninjutsu, surrogate substitution, true transformations, and flash clones, had been sold to the Anbu Corps, which brought a nice chunk of change to the Uzumaki compound, and had also been included in the Scroll of Seals as Kinjutsu. They knew what the two following them looked like, and even who they are, Maizu and Gozu, aka, the Demon Brothers, missing ninja from Kirigakure. They were known to associate with the S-rank missing ninja, Juzo Biwa, the wielder of Kubikiribocho. Juzo by himself was reputed to be a near nightmare to fight, but Juzo, plus the severing sword, was said to dye the battlefields red with blood. It was late afternoon, and in the midst of a particularly hot summer, when Naruto sensed something insulting. The Demon Brothers had apparently grown tired of following them and decided to ambush them. That was not the insulting part, that came in the form of their chosen cover. The brothers were trying to show off their training and chose to hide their ambush by hiding in a puddle of freestanding water. The only problem with that tactic, it had been weeks since it rained. This was the dry season in the Land of Fire. One of the reasons it was called that was due to its unusually high temperatures in the summer. The second hottest on the continent, with only the desert lands of Kase no Kuni going higher and drier. If they were true ninja, they would have taken this into their calculations when setting their ambush. "So, what should we do about them?" Kurenai asked her genin, over the special communication devices, given to them by Hana and Kiba, as first mission gifts. They allowed the Inuzuka's non-canine partners to communicate with them, taking their voices and modulating the sound up and down the frequency scale, allowing humans without special abilities granted by the king of the Biju, or a bloodline limit to communicate freely. Kurenai had her own ideas but wanted to see what her students thought of the situation. Should we spring their ambush, or allow it to go forward? Well, springing the ambush would reveal our capabilities, and some of our abilities. Naruto pointed out the obvious, which he knew they knew, but wanted to point it out to determine the likely consequences of such actions. They nodded their understanding, and it is most likely these idiots were sent to test us. A guy like Biwa-san wouldn't want to waste his time on small fry. True, but letting it go forward will not accomplish anything. They'll likely target Tazuna-san and we already know why. Sakura stated, if I were to attack our group, I'd go after Kurenai-sensei first, then try a feint at one of us, before suddenly veering off toward Tazuna-san. If I didn't know anything about our capabilities, all I would see was a typical genin team on a mission, she told them as her powerful mind turned the situation over and over. Naruto-kun and Hinata-chan are dressed enough alike to likely be siblings. I'm dressed differently enough with my shemagh, the only one they might have heard of is you, Kurenai-sensei. Kurenai smile, it's likely, and I am in the book of shinobi as Crimson Mirage, so they likely know my method of attack will be using genjutsu. The first rule of strategy is never do what your enemy expects you to do, their sensei lectured, but always do what they expect you not to. Actually, the rule of thumb is to be unpredictable, Hinata corrected, and I don't see what the issue is. We know they're there. Most of the power of an ambush comes from the surprise of your enemy. There's no reason why we cannot incorporate elements from both options, Hinata reasoned. What do you have in mind, Hinata-chan? Naruto asked. By the time the party came even with the supposed innocuous puddle of water, they had shifted positions so Kurenai was bringing up the rear. They had apparently grown complacent as the journey wore on, and had allowed their vigilance to wane. The two kunoichi were in the middle, chatting about girly things. There was a lot of giggling involved in whatever they were talking about, as one or both seemed to cast conspiratorial glances in the blonde shinobi's direction, who had migrated to take point, leaving Tazuna terribly alone and isolated. The demon brothers weighed their options, wondering if they should change their battle plan, but decided against it. Their first target could not possibly be in better position for springing their trap. The entire party had walked by and were a few paces past the puddle, when they rose out of the puddle, one atop the other. Once they were completely out of the water, the one on top combined a leap with a throw from the one on bottom, and together they launched the top one through the air. They ended up entangling the raven-haired beauty, with a deadly-looking chain, that seemed to be attached to a pair of gruesome-looking gauntlets. Oh no, Sakura exclaimed in fright. What? Came Naruto's astonished bellow. Do it, the two-horned Maizu, which was truly the only way to tell them apart, ordered, and they pulled on the chain hard. Their combined might caused the chain to rip through Blood Squad Sensei like a chainsaw through paper. Kurenai-sensei, Naruto called out in alarm, before he felt the wind blow behind him as the Chunin from Mist appeared behind Naruto, laughing at his shock and fright. Now, it's your turn, one of them stated as they brought their chains up and would have wrapped it around him. Naruto suddenly smirked, psych, and he was gone in a plume of smoke, and in his place was Gozu, who just had time for his eyes to go wide, before he met the same fate as Kurenai. How was that possible? Then Maizu remembered, who they had supposedly killed a moment before, a genjutsu master, of course. Then focusing he yelled, Kai. There was a flash of light and the world returned to normal, but it was still too late, because he watched the blonde one, that they had intended to use as a feint, break his brother's nose. Gozu felt the sharp rap on the back of the head with a kunai, and the last thing he saw before consciousness fled, was a flight of 6 Onmyo Canada geese, flying sedately to the west. One of them seemed to be carrying a scroll on its back. Tazuna turned to the rest of the party, okay, take me home, and I mean get me there in one piece. Of course, Kurenai confirmed. Biwa-san is definitely going to attack, he must be impatient to get paid, Naruto surmised, then chuckled to himself, he must really despise working for Gato. All articles I've read on him say that he's a real piece of work, conducting his business like a crime syndicate. Naruto was leading the way again, using his senses to tell him exactly where his adversaries were. He suddenly ran a few paces forward and stopped. He took out a kunai and threw it randomly into the bushes. Over there, he shouted, like an over-eager puppy. Kurenai rushed over to the place he sent the kunai, and chuckled. "Good news, kids, there wasn't an enemy behind these bushes," she stated, holding up a dead, snow-white rabbit, extracting Naruto's kunai from its skull. "Bad news, Naruto-kun is cooking dinner tonight." They all chuckled along with her. Though it was on the outside only, that's a snow rabbit, Kurenai thought, but they only have white fur during winter. When snow is on the ground, it camouflages them, allowing them to escape from many of their predators. It's midsummer, right now, meaning it's been raised indoors away from sunlight, which can only be for one purpose, a substitution technique. So, they're going to try us here, she decided. Juzo Biwa, also known as Nightmare from the Mist, S-ranked rogue ninja, of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist, who wielded decapitating carving knife. Every kenjutsu user worth the name knew about the 7 blades of the mist. Had no eyebrows, just creases under his eyes, and a cross-shaped scar on his right cheek. His hair and eyes are dark gray in color, and his hair is short and spiky. He has light tan skin. He also had a red grid-shaped marking covering his jaw. He wore a black, tight-fitting sleeveless shirt, with 2 light, thin stripes, on his chest, a striped cloth belt and light pants, along with black arm covers, extending from his hands to his biceps. Juzo also wore bandages around his neck and face, which also covered his ears, and like all the members of the 7, had pointed teeth, like a shark. Naruto knew that Juzo-san was trying to intimidate them, by intentionally releasing his killer intent ki. Well, it was, at least, working on him. The only reason he did not run away, was because his love for Sakura, Hinata, and Kurenai, was more powerful than the fear the swordsman extracted from him. Love always conquers fear, and consumes the fires of anger and hatred, with its hotter, but gentler flames. Kurenai saw Naruto pluck up his courage. She was proud of her student. Not many would be able to overcome the kind of pressure Biwa-san was exerting, let alone a genin. That's one of the reasons, among so many, that make me love you, Naruto, and while I wouldn't trade this time with you for anything, I wish you were not my student, so that I could, or at least try to, capture your heart. She placed all of her attention back onto their enemy, and smiled a charmed smile. I am truly flattered, that such a powerful shinobi such as yourself, would know about a humble kunoichi, like me. Juzo merely returned the smile, showing off his shark-like teeth. Of course, Kurenai, the Crimson Mirage, a genjutsu prodigy, considered to be Konoha's #1 genjutsu user, whose skills are said to rival those of even Shisui and Itachi Uchiha. Capable of discerning the truth in an instant and luring enemies to a place far beyond genjutsu, and into the subconscious mind to see a person's true nature, and quite often mistaken for an Uchiha, with those eyes of hers. They continued to appraise each other, taking their measure. He grew serious. Now that the pleasantries are over, I need you to hand over the old man. That would be quite impossible, at this juncture, Kurenai asserted. He's our client after all. It wouldn't be very good for Konoha, if we started letting our clients fall into enemy hands, every time we get waylaid by enemy ninja. I'm prepared to die for him, Kurenai growled, as her crimson eyes seemed to shine with an ethereal glow. Are you prepared to do the same, Juzo-san, to die for an old fart like him? Well, Juzo-san rasped, looks like I get to see the Crimson Mirage in action. This is an honor, their enemy declared solemnly. Will you show me the crimson skies I've heard from my peers? Kurenai smiled like a cat that just ate the canary. Maybe, if I deem you worthy. I have many skills, she stated, while cocking her hips to the side seductively. That dojutsu is just one of many I possess. Juzo-san just laughed. If you're attempting to beguile me with your charms, you'll find I'm quite immune to your blandishments, unlike say that genin standing next to you. Naruto blushed. He had thought by remaining professional, no one would notice how his sensei was getting to him, but when a woman as hot as Kurenai Yuhi begins acting sexy, that shit is hard to ignore. Kurenai said nothing. At least, I know the guy I've fallen for finds me attractive. In truth, he is far more appealing to me than you are, Yuhi-san, Juzo admitted. Just give him a few years and to me he'd be just right. Naruto, to his credit, did not blush. His aunt had raised him to be fairly open-minded about such things. Still, I'm flattered, Juzo-san, he began, but men are ugly, smelly, disgusting creatures to me, not appealing at all except as friends and comrades. As for you, Jonin-kun, Juzo-san continued, there was a standing order among all mist ninja, to capture you, and bring you back to the village, or destroy you on sight. Your stats were in her bingo book, their enemy informed them, but enough talk, I must exterminate the old man, now. I just told you, Juzo-san, Kurenai repeated, that will be impossible in this place. So, taking her answer as more defiance, Kurenai-kun, it seems I need to eliminate you first, so be it. A mist even thicker than the natural fog from just an hour ago, billowed into existence, ninja art, hidden mist jutsu. The world around them was enveloped in a thick blanket of mist that surrounded Naruto and Kurenai. They could still hear the sounds of fighting to one side as the kunoichi battle still raged. They apparently were not covered in the mist, just these two. Sensei, Naruto warned. Naruto-kun, he'll come after me first, Kurenai reminded him. Be careful, Sensei, Naruto admonished, then continued in low frequency, below normal human hearing, something her earpiece picked up. Remember the tattoo on his lower jaw and lip area. At her nod he continued, I recognized it from my seal training. It's a pain seal. It was used by the Uzumaki as a ward against genjutsu. It's a countermeasure they used. Whenever someone used a genjutsu on a person with that mark, it flared like fire which caused the genjutsu to fail, he explained to her. Kurenai narrowed her eyes. Don't fret Naruto-kun, if what you're saying is true, then my genjutsu may still work, just not the way I intended. If we fail, we only lose our lives, Kurenai concluded. Right, Naruto agreed. One of the Kage Bunshin voiced his observations, man, this mist is getting thicker as we speak. The land of waves is surrounded entirely by the ocean, Tazuna explained, so fog and mist accumulate very easily. You could say, we're in the perfect environment for our enemy to fight us, all of the advantages are currently in his favor, but not for long. 8 points, came Juzo-san's disembodied voice, larynx, spine, lungs, the liver, jugular, and subclavian arteries, kidneys, the heart. Now, which will be my kill point, the voice asked. Kurenai made the ram seal, and flared her chakra, pushing back some of the mist. Naruto, calm down, I'll protect you with my life. I would never be able to face your aunt if I let anything happen to you. I would sooner take my own life than allow you to die. Your conviction does you credit, Crimson Mirage. Juzo-san's voice spoke from near the clone group, then Juzo appeared right next to the group. It's over. However, instead of standing their ground, they substituted themselves, but left behind several explosive kunai, and only one clone. Dai Bakufu, the clone stated, before it exploded, adding its explosive force to the kunai. Ironically, the water clone's substance leveled as much landscape as the exploding clone and kunai. Another Juzo appeared behind Kurenai and slashed his Kubikiribocho through her torso. Die, he yelled, but instead of that, Kurenai's body disintegrated into a shower of cherry blossoms. Juzo's face suddenly flared in pain, like it was on fire, and the genjutsu placed upon him to lure to a specific place, broke. He found Kurenai waiting where she was manipulating him to be, with a kunai ready to slit his throat, and he chuckled at the shocked look on her face. I forgot to tell you, genjutsu doesn't work on me. Yeah, figured as much, she replied, then added, but then, it did exactly what I wanted it to do, distract you long enough for me to get behind you. Juzo's eyes widened, when he felt the point of a kunai jabbing into the base of his skull. Don't move, Juzo-san, Kurenai ordered. Even the toughest, masochistic ninja, can still become distracted by pain. It takes mental concentration to ignore pain, which if I'm not mistaken is the key to your ninjutsu. In order to cause all of this moisture to rise and condense, you must concentrate, and I imagine that it's a balancing act. You have to condense enough moisture out of the air to make things opaque, but too much and it falls like rain, too little, and you won't achieve your goal. Like deceiving us into believing that this is you, and not another water clone, Kurenai revealed, while looking behind her to see another Juzo-san already making his swing at her. The blonde declared, then looked at his clone, trade with sensei, please, you did a good job being me. The clone smiled, that's because I am you, boss. Then there was a flash of light and Kurenai was standing where the flash clone once stood. In her place in the prison was the clone. He promptly grabbed Juzo's hand, which brought him out of his surprise. Let go, brat, Juzo roared, let go. The clone just laughed, using chakra to adhere to Juzo-san's hand. This is your sword arm, is it not, Juzo-san? You let your S ranking go to your head. The Naruto Bunshin chided him, you should never allow this arm to become occupied with anything but a weapon. That's sword art lesson number 1, he rebuked the man, at least among the Uzumaki clan. On the shore while Juzo was distracted by the Senko Bunshin, the original pulled a collapsible Fuma shuriken from his pack, giving it to his sensei. I assume you know how to use this, Kurenai sensei. Of course, Genin Uzumaki, she said, with a smile, Jonin are required to be familiar with every tool of our trade. Kurenai unfolded the wicked-looking piece of steel. This one was of a different design than Mizuki's a few months ago. Where his had 4 points of lethality, meant to puncture the enemy, this giant shuriken, also called Demon Wind Shuriken, had 4 arms with an edge on each arm. This one was meant to maim or decapitate your enemy. Kurenai did not need the same wind-up to throw this one as Mizuki. Such is the difference in power and experience between Jonin and Chunin. She merely caused it to spin and threw it. There is a reason. Juzo-san is an S-rank ninja. Some things are just ingrained with so much experience. Despite his preoccupation with the Flash clone, still in his prison, you're smart, boy. Juzo-san was still aware of his surroundings, including when he was under attack. Almost on instinct he reached out his other arm and caught the flying weapon, in the safest way possible, by the center orifice, but not smart enough. Juzo-san made his comment a little too soon, however, because right behind the first shuriken, flying in its shadow came another Demon Wind Shuriken. Both of his hands were occupied. Surely, he was staring his death in the face. Just at the last minute, however, the ninja jumped, just barely missing having his body cut in half. That shuriken was not what it seemed, however, because it suddenly reversed course, spinning rapidly, back toward the missing ninja. Just before it would have hit Juzo-san, it morphed into another Naruto. This Naruto wrapped his arms and legs around Juzo-san's body. This Naruto was using his magnetic bloodline to stick to the sword on Juzo-san's back. The Naruto standing next to his sensei was the original. He looked upon the man he faced, not with arrogance or superiority, but with respect. The look was returned. Thank you, Genin, and Naruto snapped his fingers. At Tazuna's home a mile or so away, they watch as a blinding white light, volcanoes high into the darkening sky. It seems to almost turn night into day. Not even a second later the power of such an explosion could be felt as a series of seismic tremors. Not quite an earthquake, but it caused a few trees, old and deeply rooted in the soil, to sway in their beds. My Kami, Tazuna and his daughter, Tsunami say together. The sight of the explosion, temporarily overcoming his cynicism. What in the Naraku was that? Tazuna asked. That's my nephew, sending a soul to Tengoku, Yugao deduced, solemnly. Instead of striking flesh, she felt the unmistakable sound of her billy clubs, hitting a body of water. The water clone evaporated like condensation on a window, immediately upon impact, leaving the kunoichi looking around in surprise. They immediately went back to back, staring at the surrounding landscape. They would not be taken from behind, if they could help it. Out of the mists, a form seemed to condense from the air. The hunter nin seemed to be studying them intently, before she spoke to them with a voice as soft and gentle as Hinata's own. Please, stand down, Kunoichi-sans, the Kunoichi hunter nin asked in a pleading voice. I have no wish to harm you, I simply want the S-rank ninja, Juzo Biwa. There is no need for you to get further involved, and needlessly injured. Sakura's expression became contemplative. Surely, Ryoshi-san, you wouldn't begrudge some help in taking on an S-rank ninja, she asked in bewilderment. The hunter ninja just sighed before dropping her head with a shameful shake. I have been hunting Biwa-san for some time now, and was preparing a way to take him down, when you and your team appeared out of nowhere. It is my duty to see this through, she added determinedly. You shouldn't allow your pride and arrogance to dictate how you do your work, Ryoshi-san, Hinata rebuked. It has killed more warriors than any weapon ever could. Her voice, while still soft, carried steel within it. Their opponent started at the reprimand. I am sorry, I did not mean to belittle your skills, but this is my job, she continued. It is my purpose. Bard, until then they were just going to be doing their best to distract the hunter kunoichi, and her master. Sakura and Hinata took several convincing rushes at different points within the mirrored prison. All the while Hinata increased the vibes within the dome, causing the air within to become muggy and humid. Hinata was just taking another run at the walls, when Sakura received another voice, one she cherishes above all others. Sakura-chan, how are things going over there? Naruto's voice asked, and though he masked it well, she could detect a mote of anxiety for her safety when he spoke. We're about even in skill to this hunter nin, Naruto-kun, Sakura answered. She's activated some sort of mirrored ice prison, that allows her to move between them very quickly. It's only thanks to Hinata-chan, that I don't have more wounds than I do already. While she is a strong, independent woman, and does not need her crush's affection to make her feel special, Sakura of Konoha, would be lying if the gasp of concern for her well-being did not fill her heart with warmth. It's nothing major, Naruto-kun, she hurriedly assured him, but could not keep her love for him out of her voice, as she added, "You've given me worse than this when we spar, and you never hold back against any of us." "Don't deny it," Sakura admonished him. "Well, anyway, I've just gotten confirmation, Tazuna has made it safely home," he explained the reason for his call. She smiled at his obvious attempt to change the subject. "So, you two can do whatever you need to get back to me." "Roger that, Naruto-kun," Sakura stated in a thankful tone of voice, "see you soon." Keying her calm frequency to speak to Hinata, Sakura relayed the same information Naruto had to her. "Hinata-chan, it's time to get serious," she relayed to her teammate. Shiroyuki fell to her knees, and begged, tearfully, "Please, kill me, a tool that cannot fulfill its function, is of no use, and needs to be discarded." The ice user fell forward, placing her forehead on the ground, and awaited her fate. If she had kept her face up, she would have noticed the look of repugnance latching itself to Sakura's eyes, but an eyebrow quirked up over Hinata's face. "As you wish, Kunoichi-san," Sakura said, "but I refuse to murder someone with their face in the dirt. You will look at me as I take your life." Shiroyuki rose to Seiza. Just as the rosette reached Shiroyuki, Sakura's clone used the rest of its chakra and dispelled. Sakura made her thrust with the intention of making her first kill. The blade came within a hair's breadth of killing the downed Kunoichi, and Shiroyuki further shamed herself, apart from failing her master, by flinching back from the perceived attack, with her eyes closed, in fear. "You're too pretty to allow fear to creep across your face, Kunoichi-san," the rosette admonished her. "My name is Sakura no Konoha, and you're coming with us." Shiroyuki raised a hand and cupped her own face. "When did my mask fall off?" she wondered, then looking around, she spotted it lying a few yards away from her. She looked in that direction and noticed the air was free of the mist associated with Kurigakure no Jutsu. Shiroyuki whipped her head around and saw, standing atop the water, her master, with the other kunoichi and the shinobi, teammates to the two kunoichi that had defeated her, standing with their backs to the kunoichi and her. There were some clones of the shinobi present. One of them had grabbed a hold of Juzo-sama's sword arm, preventing him from drawing his sword. Another was both being held up by his shirt, by Biwa-sama's other arm, and also holding onto the arm as well, as if to prevent her master from letting go of him, and a final third clone was clinging to Juzo's back. It was almost like it was sticking itself there by a force other than chakra. Juzo finally looked at Shiroyuki, and with a smile full of acceptance and gratitude, and though she could not hear it, knew his final words were for her, "Thank you." Then all went white, and she knew no more. "No, you're the only one of us to get blooded on this outing," Sakura quipped back. "She seems to be linked to Juzo Biwa-san. I don't know how, but she referred to herself as a tool when we were able to talk with her." Sakura turned to their sensei. "She fainted from emotional shock when Biwa-san died. She's taking up residence in a storage scroll for now. She possesses the bloodline limit, Kuriton, ice release, and seems to prefer using Senbon over other types of weapons," she reported to her sensei. "And romantic rival, her ice prison jutsu, would have been a fairly effective trap for anyone not inside of it." Naruto had walked over to the corpse of Juzo Biwa and looked down at him. Despite the charred remains, the super ninja's head and face were largely intact, and the executioner's blade, still on his back, was completely unblemished. "Goodbye, Juzo Biwa-san. I am truly sorry for taking your life, but I wasn't ready to die yet. I've no goals for the future other than to find love, true love, and maybe restart the Uzumaki clan, one generation at a time," he added, then continued, "While I know we were from different villages and Konoha could learn a lot from your body, I will honor your life the way a true ninja would wish to be honored." Thus, Naruto reached down and removed Kubikiribocho from the deadman's back, harness and all, and placed them in a storage scroll. Then, he drew Totsuka no Tsurugi from his back, and with a stylish flourish, and a low sweep, severed the missing nin's head from his corpse in one motion. It was so fast, the corpse's congealing blood did not even have time to adhere to the blade. The incidental follow-through motion would have flung the blade free of blood, if there had been any. Naruto had drawn and made his cut, including the flourish, and returned his blade to the scabbard, all within a single second. Naruto picked up the head of Biwa Juzo, S-ranked, Nuke Nin, from Kurigakure no Sato, in Mizu no Kuni, killed in action by Uzumaki Naruto, genin of Team 7, aka Blood Squad or Ketsuki Buntai from Konohagakure no Sato and placed it within another storage scroll of its own. As he completed his duties to the ninja he had slain, he felt 2 discharges of chakra on his left and right. The chakra reached the corpse which ignited, and almost immediately the only thing remaining of Juzo Biwa were ashes. He looked and saw all of his teammates, standing side by side with solemn expressions on their faces. The 2 kunoichi that could use fire had their hands in the Tora hand seal, a clear sign that they had expelled the chakra he felt. Naruto smiled at them in gratitude. He was not very good with fire chakra, yet. They all returned his smile with warmth. Then Kurenai got serious, and ordered, "Okay, let's head to our destination. We've accomplished more than enough here today, and as tough and strong as kunoichi are, I, for one, need to take a bath." She finished her comment with a leering wink at Naruto. Among the trees within the forest on the previously running stream, 2 sets of eyes had watched the entire fight, from start to finish. Both were Ryoshi Nin, and both were from Mizu no Kuni. However, only one of them was from the village hidden in the mist, and the other was from the rebellion taking place against the incumbent Mizukage. The Mist Hunter ninja was astounded and disgusted at the current turn of events. The disgust came from witnessing the battle of blood freaks, and because one of the 7 swords of the mist was now in the hands of those tree-hugging, leaf ninja. Hunter nin are among the few ninja that can cross borders into other countries at will. They enjoyed a form of diplomatic immunity among ninjas. They are free to take any bounty they are capable of taking, even pursuing them across national borders, and unless the nation is in open warfare against the hunter's nation, there is little legal recourse or restriction that may be imposed upon any Ryoshi nin. The reason for the so-called immunity is because hunters are instrumental in providing data on ninja to be placed within the Book of Shinobi, more commonly known as the Bingo Book. There are 2 restrictions that a hunter nin may never violate in order to get a bounty. 1. Never interfere in another ninja village's ninja during a mission, even if they end up usurping the hunter's bounty. Once the bounty is dead or in custody of said ninja, a hunter nin may not interfere. And 2. If the missing ninja seeks refuge in another ninja village, capital city, or any type of merchant ship, a hunter nin must stop pursuit immediately. Yet, despite the repugnance of the official hunter nin, there was a begrudging respect forming within him as well. He had just witnessed the demise of one of the most formidable ninja ever to come out of the village hidden in the mist. That in and of itself was a noteworthy feat. What made the occasion even more astonishing was because Juzo Biwa-san, Nuke Nin of the Mist, also known as the Nightmare who paints the battlefields, met his end at the hands of a genin. He was a bloodline freak, but he should still not have been a match for one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. I must report this to the Mizukage, the hunter thought, then cursed in his thoughts. Shit, there's no way Karataki-sama will believe this in any message I send. I have to report this to him person. And the mist hunter nin's head suddenly lolled to the side and a trickle of blood came out of his nose. His body suddenly went limp, listing to the side before falling to ground like a sack of rice. Behind, where the dead hunter had lain in wait, cleaning the kunai he had used to eliminate any chance of the preceding battle's outcome from reaching his enemy, lay another legend of the bloody mists. He was the sole survivor of his graduating class, and a master of the silent killing technique. He was known by most through the nickname, Demon of the Mists, Zabuza Momochi. He was acting as the Ryoshi nin for the revolutionary forces opposing the current Sandame Mizukage, Yugura Karataki. They were being led by the current head of the Terumi clan, Mei Terumi. While young, even at 17 years of age, she had proven herself time and time again, not just through strength, but as a capable leader and galvanizing figure, that she had earned her status as Jonin by the time she was 15, and later during the Bloody Mist Uprising. This was the reason why she had been elected leader of the rebel army. Her beauty, and the fact that she carried 2 Kekkei Genkai, were very much beside the point. Zabuza and the rest of her forces would go through hell and back for her, and she well knew it, which was what Zabuza was doing out here. While the rebel forces had been holding their own quite well against Yagura's ninja, it had not been without a few losses in personnel, and while the Mizukage had an entire economy to draw upon to replenish his forces, Mei did not have such a luxury. Zabuza was sent on a recruiting and resources mission. Basically he was to recruit ninja among the dregs of the missing nin, not for their prowess, of course, more to act as jutsu fodder. The more Yugura had to expend in terms of firepower, the more weakened his forces became, and if they refused to join, well, there was another way missing nin could be useful. They would fill the coffers of the rebel army. Zabuza was just as shocked about the outcome of this battle, as his now dead enemy, but he was also disappointed that he would not have been able to at least approach his idol, Juzo Biwa-san. The might of the S-rank ninja would have bolstered the rebel army, and may have ensured their victory, one way or the other. Now, however, those plans were dashed all to hell, by some snot-nosed genin who more than likely got lucky. Still, even Momochi had to give the kid some grudging respect. Even ninja as skilled as himself, would have had difficulty taking on a shinobi as powerful as the nightmare. "I'd better report this to Mei-chan," he growled, then he smiled and added, as he began making his way home to the land of water, "Isn't it interesting to find members of her mother's clan, alive and well, and living in Konoha?" Ninjutsu, which of course included their bloodlines, was second to none for genin, and would even make a few chunin proud. When they had left the leaf, all three genin had all but mastered breaking out of genjutsu, and only S-rank genjutsu was beyond their grasp. Konoha law forbade placing such high-ranking illusions on fellow leaf ninja or citizens. S-ranked are the class of illusions that can kill people. Only by obtaining permission from the Hokage, and only under strict guidelines, could S-rank genjutsu be practiced. The advanced ninja of the leaf had even improved themselves, as formidable as they were before. Now they realized that as soon as they had achieved their current ranking they had stopped trying as hard. They realized they had lost that hunger, that drive to improve themselves, and their training in the past couple of weeks had been to try and get back and keep the eye of the tiger. Wink. The fierce look illuminating their eyes as they walked onto the nearly completed bridge, said that their training had been successful. Kurenai and Yugao realized, if they wanted to defeat the old way of looking at kunoichi, then they had to step up, and show the world that other women could rise to the same heights as Tsunade of the Sannin. Gekko, now that his affliction had been cured, and his lungs were healthy, could now look forward to rising in rank to true Jonin, and perhaps even further. He had begun to wonder if he could find a summoning contract for lizards, his little boy fantasies, that all men, no matter how old, have, now included, Hayate Gekko, the Tokage Sennin, sage of the lizards. Spiky hair, his forehead protector was turned sideways, and on his body, Naruto could see the neckline of a dark shirt, with matching, baggy pants, over which he wore the same Ryoshi Nin robe as the older man. The sleeves, however, were short, and so was the cut of the robe. It ended at his mid-calf the same as the kunoichis, thus revealing mimetic wrist and leg warmers, and shinobi sandals. He also carried a standard katana, strapped to his back. The third and final shinobi stood facing Naruto directly. He was in his late teens, early 20s, he was short for his age, only slightly taller than Naruto. He had short blue hair, dark eyes, and when he opened his lips, Naruto could see a row of sharpened teeth, a sure sign that he was a member of the Seven Swordsmen of the Mist. Every swordsperson worth their rice knew about the seven, and knew about or had at least heard about their blades. Naruto looked past the young man's clothes, and studied the bandage-wrapped bundle on his back, noting the double hilts peeking up over the right shoulder. That's got to be Haramakare, he concluded. Kiba-ken are the only other blades that can be considered two blades, but they're supposed to be slender with a couple of horns along the blade. These look like he's got a fish strapped to his back, Naruto mused as he assessed his opponents. Naruto briefly turned his eyes, to cast his gaze down the line to his teammates and family. I consider them all my family, and I will protect them at all costs. He would be facing this man on his own, for now, because between him and Hinata and Sakura, who would battle the old man, was his aunt, Yugao, and his future-in-law, Hayate Gekko, they would face the tall guy. Two genin facing down, a veteran jonin, with more experience than even Kurenai-sensei, talk about long odds of winning, let alone surviving. I'm not so worried about Yugao Oba-chan or Gekko-san, they're Anbu, they probably face down guys like this all the time, and it's 2-on-1. Looking beyond the Anbu, Naruto saw that Kurenai-sensei was facing the enemy kunoichi alone as well. While Naruto had every faith in her abilities, that's not how Konoha nin fight. We fight as a team, whenever possible. We always try to outnumber opponents, he remembered. Me and Kurenai-sensei are alone at the moment, I'm going to try to rectify that. He might be one of the seven, but I'll wager a whole month of ramen, that the kunoichi is the most dangerous and powerful of all four of them. I need to even the odds, he resolved. While the other members of his team began chatting with their enemies, Naruto just began a casual stride toward the swordsman. Are you really one of the seven swordsmen of the mist? Naruto asked. Chojuro could not help the proud smile that crossed his face. "Hi, Konoha Nin-san, I am." Before the Mist Ninja Rebel could react, Naruto leveled his blaster at his enemy's face and said, "Plasma release, blaster bolt." He snapped, as an angry red light shot at the young man, faster than the speed of sound. It struck him right between the eyes, breaking his glasses, but the kinetic force of the blast was so strong it flung the kid several meters back down the bridge. He landed hard on the stone surface, before rolling another meter and stopping with his back to everybody. Almost immediately, a pool of blood began to spread out and away from the body of the Mist Ninja. The shockingly brutal display of power had stunned everybody into silence and immobility, but it was not over. As soon as the body came to a halt, Naruto used his photokinetics to lift the blades free of the body, and flung them out into the bay, where they sank to the depths. Satisfied with his handiwork, Naruto returned his blaster to its holster, then drew his 10-fist sword. He spun around with a solemn look on his face. "Now that the numbers are about even, let's get to it." Sought out the patriarch of the Kurama clan, to make sure that she was not being forced to love Naruto. She may be the genjutsu mistress of Konoha, but the members of the Kurama clan lived and breathed that discipline from the moment they were born. Kurenai turned her head to look at her last student, the only male under her tutelage, and the only man since she was a genin she has ever felt love for. She may have felt burgeoning feelings for Sarutobi-sama's son, Asuma, before he left for the capital, but she had forgotten about them over the years. Then, he died protecting the daimyo from betrayal by his own guards, and her feelings for him ended as she mourned him as a fellow Konoha nin and moved on with her life. Then when she was 14, one of her best friends found her nephew living in squalor on the streets of Konoha, a victim of the fools that infested the government at that time. He was the Jinchuriki of the Kyubi no Kitsune, the most powerful Biju of them all. It has been said that if the one through the seven tails, wherever they may be, joined forces to battle the nine, they would all lose. Unless they somehow allied with the Hachibi would they even have a chance of winning, and the council ran the risk of alienating him, to the point that if he ever contacted the fox, he might have been tempted to release it, just to stop suffering. If that had happened, their village would have been destroyed. Not even Jiraiya-sama was skilled enough at sealing to recapture the Kyubi, if it had broken loose, and there was only one Uzumaki left that could have held it. Master of the silent kill method, Zabuza Momochi, demon of the mists, some say he is the second coming of the nightmare. Yugao-chan and Gekko-kun should have no problem with him. The most dangerous of them all was the kunoichi, Mei Terumi, known as the goddess of mist, and other than Juzo Biwa and Kisame Hoshigaki, is one of the only 3 S-ranked ninja Kurigakure ever produced, and the youngest in history. She is also a member of the 7 swordsmen of the mist, wielding Kiba Ken, and 2 Kekkei Genkai, Lava Release, and Boil Release. Surprised Kiri let her come on this mission. "I never thought I'd see you on a petty C rank, Terumi-san," Kurenai wondered. "Keeping a petty despot in power doesn't seem like a worthy mission for someone like you. It's definitely below your skill level to take on a mission like this," Blood Squad Sensei accused, "so I wonder what it was that brought Kiri no Megami here." "On the contrary, Shinku Shinkiro, missions like this keep me humble," Mei replied with a smile. "They help me stay in perspective." She turned her head to see the blonde Konoha genin continue to advance toward her youngest companion, reminding me where I come. Would take pleasure in ending his miserable existence. I'm here, first to meet my fellow clanspersons, nodded in their direction, and ask a favor of them. Naruto and Yugao approached Mei cautiously, wary of a trap, but close enough to listen. "You have recently taken down an S-ranked missing nin, Juzo Biwa," Mei inquired, to Naruto's nod. "In doing so, you acquired a certain item, Kubikiribocho," she added, to another nod from Naruto. "We were wondering if we could acquire this weapon from you. It's a symbol of village pride, and we would appreciate having it returned to us." Yugao's eyes narrowed. "Why should we care about the pride of Kiri, we're Konoha nin?" "I'm not here as a representative of Kiri," Mei answered. "I am the leader of the Rebel Alliance, in opposition to the tyrannical leadership of the Yondaime Mizukage, who has begun persecuting clans and individuals with Kekkei Genkai, going so far as to execute people merely for possessing one." "That's so stupid," Naruto fumed. "Any kage or leader of a village should view bloodlines as a source of strength for their village." "What could he be thinking?" he asked. "Never try to ascertain the motives of a madman, Naruto-san," Mei taught. "It is a lesson in futility." Yugao had been thinking during the exchange of her younger clan's people, but turned to her nephew. What do you think, Naruto Oi-san? You're the one who acquired the weapon for the Uzumaki clan, so you have the right to determine who owns it. Naruto pinched his bottom lip. Personally, I don't have a problem turning over the sword, it's not feasible with my fighting style. At most, I was going to use it as a way to practice my kenjutsu. It would be perfect for enhancing my swing, Naruto explained, before smirking and knocking his knuckles against the hilt of his own sword, and adding, if I can learn to swing that huge slab of steel, this puppy could be even easier to wield. Mei was smiling at the prospect of getting the executioner's blade so easily, but Naruto turned serious. But I am not willing to just give it away, it's a special blade and a man gave his life for it. It would dishonor his memory, if I just gave it to anyone who asked for it, Naruto stated with a hard stare. The executioner's blade is not a party favor, boy, the blue-haired Anbu snapped, it is a national treasure of Water Nation, we can't just be giving one of the 7 blades away. Why in my day? Ow, Mei hissed, shut up or I'll kill you. It is his by right of combat, she snapped at him. Before placing her hand on her own swords, he won the blade, fair and square, from Juzo Biwa. He doesn't have to entertain me at all about a barter, he could tell me to piss off and I could do nothing to him. As is the tradition of the 7, Mei admonished the veteran ninja, who apparently did not know the customs of the 7 blades at all. I'm trying to do this with as little bloodshed as possible, in case you haven't noticed, we're outnumbered and surrounded. Plus, that genjutsu you witnessed in the beginning, wasn't just an illusion, Yugao informed them, it was a vision of the future, so mind what you say, old man, especially to my nephew, she concluded with a growl. For something so vital, something equally as vital should be required, Naruto mused to himself, then an idea struck him, I won't give you the sword, but as they stiffened, he added hurriedly, but that doesn't mean it cannot still aid you in your cause. You see, while I do own the blade, I have given it to someone else to use in my stead, I've given it to my tool. At their understanding eyes, he continued to explain, my vassal, who is also from Kiri and is even a bloodline user, so she falls into perfect line with the ideals of your side of the rebellion. Her name is Uzumaki Shiroyuki, formerly of the Yuki clan, and she is quite formidable in her own right, a ranked status in ninjutsu, iryojutsu, medical techniques, and taijutsu, still a novice with kenjutsu, but she has mastered the basics of swordplay. She needs to be trained in Uzumaki Musashi style, Naruto informed Mei, who nodded, that is a universal Uzumaki requirement, and she has the bloodline limit, Korotan or ice release. So, what do you say, Mei-kun? Naruto asked, the sword will still be in the fight with you, even if Kiri will no longer own it. Mei gave the matter some serious thought, it was her mission to secure the blade for the side of the rebels, and this will be mission accomplished, even if the blade will have to leave mist, once the fighting has ceased. She began to nod, I agree to your terms, Uzumaki-san, I will need to evaluate this Shiroyuki's strength personally, to see if your claims of her prowess are valid, but even if she's not as formidable as you claim, her medical acumen would be a boon to our forces. I accept your terms, Naruto-san, she exclaimed with an extended hand, which Naruto accepted with his own. Just so we're clear here, Uzumaki Terumi Mei-san, Naruto began with steel in his eyes, Shiroyuki and Kubikiribocho, are a package deal. When the fighting is over, you will personally escort her, and the sword, to Konoha, yourself. If Shiroyuki turns up in Konoha without the sword, you better be standing next to her, Naruto explained, before adding, she is under your protection, you are responsible for her well-being, both mentally and physically. If something happens to her, whether by the enemy or an ally, or if something, somehow happens to both of them, that prevents them from serving me, you will take her place as my tool, Naruto concluded, then added, as a crimson halo enshrouded his body, do you, by the blood of the Uzumaki, swear this to me, Uzumaki Terumi Mei-san? If Mei's eyes could have gotten any wider at what she saw, they would have popped out of their sockets. The Uzumaki blood oath, to anybody else, swearing by your blood would mean only slightly more binding than simply giving your word, only the personal integrity of the oath taker would ensure fulfillment of the promise. To the Uzumaki, swearing a blood oath was literally putting your life on the line if you didn't do everything in your power to keep your promise, and if you failed, your life was forfeit, no matter how powerful you were as a ninja. Closing her eyes, Mei summoned up the exact same energy as her male Uzumaki counterpart. I, Uzumaki Terumi Mei, do hereby swear by the blood of the Uzumaki, that Shiroyuki and Kubikiribocho will return to Konoha at the end of our current conflict, should either of them be destroyed or unable to return to Uzumaki Naruto, for any reason, then I, Uzumaki Terumi Mei, will become the tool of Uzumaki Naruto, of Konohagakure no Sato, for the rest of my life. The crimson energy continued to grow before silently flaring, to be a little bit brighter than the current noonday sun, causing everybody except the oath-bound party themselves to flinch back. It was suddenly as if Mei could feel the icy grip of death clutching at her heart. The sensation lasted only for an instant, but now, Mei and Naruto knew that their oath had been ratified by Shinigami's power. If Mei tried to break her oath, she would die. Reasons and circumstances did not matter. Now, Mei's life was tied to a woman she had never even met, such was her commitment to the cause. Style. Great breakthrough, he said, but instead of using it to retaliate, he directed it around himself, which forced the water needles around the funnel of the whirlwind. He knew she was acting on her emotions. This was the first time she was able to meet him alone. Since her master's death, she needed to vent her emotions, or they would consume her. He could have ended this immediately. He had known she was there before she even found him. His fox senses were amazing. He could have ended it before it started, by killing her, something he would have been smart to do, but he did not, because that was not the kind of shinobi he wanted to be. Battles and assassinations were one thing. For battles, it was kill or be killed. With assassinations he was just a tool, a weapon. The client was the killer. He or she was the hand that was used to end someone's life. At least that was how he chose to reconcile that part of the life of a ninja. Naruto was no different in the eyes of the law than a knife or a crossbow. That being said, he knew that some would still seek his life when he killed their loved ones, and Shiroyuki was only the first to do so. Naruto did not want to hurt her more than he had already, but that did not mean he was just going to let her continue to attack him. Naruto's wind was able to capture nearly all of the ice user's water needles, taking control of their flight, and adding speed to her already fast-moving projectiles, and begin to spit them back toward their mother. This surprised the young kunoichi, but she still was able to evade them all by jumping to her right. Then she strafed further around the Konoha Genin, while forming and launching a continuous barrage of water Senbon at him. By this time, Naruto's wind technique had run its course, but he was ready for her when it did. As soon as he completed his spin, there was a snap hiss as a column of orange, incandescent plasma extended from both hands, to just over a meter long. He held it at a quarter of the length, as he used these plasma blades to block and deflect her water Senbon, while deploying his Kidoton. This is where Shiroyuki begins to smile, as she realizes a tactical miscalculation on his part, and begins to taunt him. "You are very good, Uzumaki-san," she began disarmingly. "I dare say one of the best I have ever fought against, except for Juzo-sama," she ended with a bitter bite to her voice. "You have quite formidable skills for a genin, and normally, this would be where I ask you to give up the fight, because you've given yourself a distinct disadvantage while battling me." "Why do you believe that, Shiroyuki-san?" the blonde asked the Ebonet with a raised eyebrow, while continuing to move his arms to defend against her continuous barrage. Shiroyuki gave him a sinister grin. "Because with both of your hands full, you cannot employ your ninjutsu, or even that refractory genjutsu of yours. I, on the other hand, am not so encumbered," she growled, as she continued to use her left hand to create her elemental ninjutsu, while her right hand began to go through its own separate motions. This surprised Naruto. "Wow, you can use one-handed seals, that's extremely rare, and you're correct, as gifted as I am with ninjutsu, that's a skill I cannot learn. I am not ambidextrous after all." As he was talking, he surreptitiously began to build up his explosive chakra in his legs. "But there is one other skill I have that is just as rare, if not more so, than your one-handed seals." As soon as he finished speaking, he wheeled around in a 270-degree arc, bringing his right leg up high into an axe kick formation, before bringing his leg down into a stomp, while sending all of his explosive chakra into his stomping foot. "Seal-less ninjutsu. Explosive style. Shockwave," he bellowed. "Why do you need someone else to give you a purpose?" Naruto wondered. "Can you not find your own purpose in life, even if it's just to live one more day, each day?" "Because I want to be strong, Naruto-sama," the ice user answered, "but one can never be truly strong, unless they have a precious person they can dedicate themselves to. I used to have nothing, I was 2 steps away from becoming a whore, after I ran away from my home." She tells him the story of her home, how she discovered her bloodline, how she killed her father, after he killed her mother, and was about to kill her too, because they held a Kekkei Genkai. She told him about her time on the street, where she had to scrounge through the trash for food, and fight stray dogs to keep what she found. She told him about how Juzo Biwa found her, saying she had the same eyes he did, the eyes of someone with nothing left to lose. He was only wrong about one thing. I had only one thing of value left with me, and I was just 2 steps away from giving that away, before Juzo Biwa found me. As strong as you can, so nobody will be able to take it from you. Naruto saw the happy acceptance of his terms as his tool, but easy oaths make for complacent tools, so he needed to add a few things that will make sure Shiroyuki does not make her oath lightly. I have said that your mind, body, and heart will belong to you. That is true. I will not take away your free will. Your oath to me and the clauses I have laid out before you will not be superseded. Your conduct, since you are mine, will reflect upon me, and I will reward or punish you as you deserve. You may share your body with whoever you choose, in whatever capacity you wish, but any children that result from such a union regardless of the father's station or status, unless you marry him, will belong to the clan, though they will be given the choice of whether to become another tool for the clan or not. Either way, they will be raised as Uzumaki, with all of the rights and responsibilities therein, Naruto concluded, and she had stopped nodding as she listened to Naruto place a hook in his toolmaker oath, and something told her it was only the first one. Time to give her a way to escape this bond, he thought. You may fall in love with whoever captures your heart. However, it is very difficult to give your loyalty to one person, and your love to another. In my opinion, they go hand in hand. To me, falling in love is to make yourself vulnerable to another person, and thus, you need loyalty and trust to truly love someone. So if you ever fall in love with a person, and that person wishes to marry you, he, or she, whoever you choose, must ask for my blessing before they ask you. Only upon my blessing will you be allowed to consent to marriage, at which point, you are free from this oath, and may then dedicate yourself to your new precious person. Otherwise, this oath is binding upon you until the moment you die. Do you consent to this vow, before the pillars of existence? Before the 3, I, Shiroyuki Uzumaki of the Yuki clan, tool of Uzumaki Naruto of the Uzumaki clan of Konohagakure, hereby forthwith and immediately consent to the previously stated oath, Shiroyuki affirmed. As soon as she affirmed her oath, Naruto, still holding her by the head, pressed his lips to hers, and the crimson mana flared like a red sun, and they could feel the 3 pillars consecrating their oath of the tool. Now, if either of them breaks their oath, they will be sent straight into Yami's Ma, hell, upon their death, regardless of how they live their lives. Shiroyuki came out of her memories, as a needle-studded corpse of one of the thugs sent to kidnap, Tsunami, Tezuna's daughter, fell over dead. She looked over at the other one, who had thought to take more from the young woman than her freedom. He had been bisected from groin to head, with her master's blade. Shiroyuki swiped her hand laterally and her ice dome lost cohesion. Thank you, Naruto-sama, my most precious one, she said in true gratitude, for becoming my purpose. Back at the bridge, a gang of 50 mercenaries had appeared behind the Kiri and Konoha ninja. They were being led by a very short man. He used a cane to direct his men, like a conductor directing musicians, only his audience was less than amused. The genin immediately discerned the caliber of these men, and even they could tell that Gato was scraping the bottom of his barrel. Naruto, Sakura, and Hinata looked at their senior colleagues, as if asking permission for something. Kurenai, Yugao, Gekko, Mei, Zabuza, Chojuro, and Ao, shared a look and a smirk, then looking at their Kahai nodded. Kurenai only said one thing, no chakra, unless necessary. All 3 genin gave vicious grins. Naruto, standing between his kunoichi peers, drew his blade. Sakura pulled her 2 hanbo and morphed them into kama, and Hinata was cracking her knuckled gloves, and together they stepped forward. That's the end of this story for now. As I am unaware of the author plans on completing this story, I will mark this as the final episode. If you want more, be sure to let the author know. The link to the story is in the description. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed.